I set my phone on the Thanksgiving table and press play. The kitchen stalls, forks midair, TV murmuring from the den, rain ticking the window. Kayla's still talking about how I left. She doesn't see what's coming. I'm 36, an HVAC tech out of Austin, 2 years of deadbeat rumors, 2 years of 6:03 a.m. child support transfers, 2 years of blocked visits. I kept receipts. I kept a recording. She turned my kids and my mother against me. She even pushed to cut me out of the will. I didn't chase arguments. I stacked proof. My boys hover in the hallway. Uncle Ray stands by the fogged window. My mother won't meet my eyes. Kayla dabs her cheek and says, "He left us with nothing." Her Tuesday afternoon voice, flat, no audience, fills the room. I kept them from you because if you've ever been blamed for something you didn't do, stay right here and hit subscribe. You're about to see what truth sounds like when it finally speaks for itself. Texas rain sounds like static when your head's this full. It threads the windshield in thin wires that wobble at every mile marker. The wipers clap their steady metronome. Left, right, left, right. I set my coffee thermos in the cup holder where the plastic ring is scarred from years of hot lids. Steam lifts, weak and stubborn. The cab smells like dark roast in the cedar smoke that clings to my hoodie from Uncle Ray's woodpile. I-35 runs straight like a truth you can't dodge. Northbound lanes glow in white dashes that blink under the tires. I watch the road line rhythm flicker toward me, small pulses that say, keep going. My phone lies face down on the seat. Every so often it ticks once. A notification nips the quiet and dies. The boys' group name lights. Then nothing. Read receipts with no words after. A dot that once meant someone was typing. Now it means I'm learning patience in inches. Round Rock sits out there past the haze of taillights and the wet shine of billboards. Bucky's Beaver grins through the drizzle like a dare. I pass it and stay with the slow lane because speed never fixed anything in my life. The truck hums low. The heater pushes a tired breath across my knees. I take a sip of coffee, only to find the lid too hot for my mouth. I hold it in my cheek and let it cool. I swallow and feel the warmth land. Rain deepens and spreads into a flat sheet, the kind that erases edges, the kind that makes brake lights into smears. Turn signals flash like warnings and Christmas lights at the same time. I click the wipers up one notch. The blades lift more water, but the world still looks like it is behind frosted glass. I lean forward an inch. Not because it helps. Habit from years of watching for nails in driveways and dogs that dash from between parked cars. Hands at 10 and 2. Old driver's ed. My dad's voice. I do the things men taught me to do before they stopped calling. The phone taps again. Another thread in the same cloth. Last week I sent the schedule I built with the school calendar. Every Thursday is marked. Times highlighted. The replies were quiet. Quiet has a weight when it stacks for 2 years. It sits in the passenger seat like a second body. I keep one knee steady under it. A gust presses the truck one lane over, and I correct without thinking. The tires hiss through a shallow puddle. I feel the steering wheel go loose for a breath and then catch. The breath after that settles into my stomach like a small stone. I breathe around it. The coffee helps. So does the rhythm. Lane marker, lane marker, lane marker. Each reflector knocks under the tires like a knuckle on wood when you know the door will open if you keep crashing. The air vents fog the bottom edge of the windshield. I drag my sleeve across the glass and clear a crescent that frames the road. The crescent shows a clean strip of dark asphalt. It is enough. The truck ahead throws a rooster tail that breaks into mist. I hang back 2 car lengths. The cruise control light glows. Then I switch it off. Today feels like a day to drive with my own foot. Cedar smoke lingers in the fabric from last night in Ray's garage. It mixes with rain, gasoline, and the ghost of winter. The smell drags me backward and forward at once. Backward to Sundays when we stacked wood. And he told me that quiet is not weakness. Forward to a kitchen where quiet will matter more than volume. I roll my shoulders once to shake off the week. It doesn't shake. It shifts just enough to let my lungs pull deeper. A green sign shouts an exit number, the kind my hands could dial even if the lights went out. I pass it and watch the water peel off the sign's lip in one thin sheet. The radio is off. The only music is belt whine and wiper drag. I think about the folder behind my seat. Receipts, logs, a pen clipped to the pocket like a promise I'll keep to myself. I won't need them first. I will need something smaller. A square of glass that holds 2 minutes and 14 seconds. It waits like a held breath. Another ping. A calendar reminder for a custody request that I know will bounce. The reminder lands and fades. I thumb the side button, and the phone glows for a second. The lock screen shows the boys on a bleacher from 3 summers ago. One is missing a front tooth. The other is sunburned across the nose. I let the screen go black. I keep both hands on the wheel. The rain eases by 1 degree. Not enough to change the sound, enough to show the pale ceiling of morning, wet and low. I pass a white church with a reader board that tells me God is good. I nod to no one. The nod is not for the sign. It is for the map in my head that still knows where home is. Even if home has been set behind a story with my name cut out of it, the road line rhythm steadies my chest. White dash, wet black, white dash, wet black. The truck eats distance like a clear plan eats doubt. I picture the doorframe at Mama's house, the nick at hip height where a pan hit last year. I picture my hand touching it again, not to claim it. To draw a line only I can feel, a line I won't cross once I set it. Rain ticks softer. The thermos sweats against my palm as I pick it up. The lid clicks. I drink. The warmth goes down and stays. I breathe in cedar and wet wool and the slight metal tang of the truck's vents. I tell myself a straightforward thing, quiet enough that it doesn't count as speaking. Keep it clean. Let her words do it. Round rock rises out of the gray like a familiar face after a long shift. I slide into the right lane. The indicator blinks 3 times. The sound is crisp. The rhythm is proper. I follow it toward the turn that puts me on the street where the porch light burns at noon and the kitchen windows fog in November. I do not speed up. I do not slow down. I arrive the only way I know how. Steady. The light goes red at Louis Henna, and the wipers stop mid-swipe as if they're thinking it over. I flip the phone face up and open the boys' group chat. Blue bubbles stack like fence posts. Birthday plans, ball games. Proud of you, kid. FaceTime tonight? All of it marked red with times like tiny verdicts. Nothing after. No hey, no busy. Quiet can bruise. It doesn't look like a punch, but it lands like one. I thumb back through the year, January to now. The chat becomes a calendar of me knocking on a door that someone else locked. Pick up at 5, red. Your cleats in the trunk? Raid. A photo of a glove I bought that never warmed to a hand in my truck. Red. I stare at the 3 little dots that once meant hope. They never show. The light turns green, and I roll forward. Next, I pull into a gas station lot and park under the bright white canopy that makes rain look like static. The passenger seat holds the old laptop I use for work orders. I crack it open, and it breathes itself awake. The fan sighs. The screen grows out of the dark in a tired blue. I tap in my password and the banking portal loads. Disbursements, Texas child support, line after line. Every month on the 1st, 6:03 a.m. like clockwork, because the alarm on my phone is set for that time, and I never miss. ACHTX, OAG. Confirmation codes resemble license plates. I open the PDF for March, and it fills the screen with neat little boxes. Amount paid, date, cleared. I pull February, January, all there. The cursor becomes a crosshair, and I draw a box around each confirmation number and hit export. The file names stack in the downloads bar. 2024-03-01 child support.pdf. 2024-02 win on one child support PDF. Proof doesn't shout. It simply sits still, waiting to be looked at. The voicemail icon glows. I tap it. Her voice comes through the truck speakers, thin and transparent. Try again after the holidays. The tone is casual, like telling someone to pick up milk. Not a court order, not a counselor's plan. Just her, picking days like fruit and leaving the rest to rot. The message runs 16 seconds. I replay it and watch the seconds count down. 16 again. The words don't change when you listen twice. They only harden. She wasn't lying to strangers. She was lying to the people who raised me. The thought weighs so heavily that it bends the seat springs. My mother, my grandmother, the aunts who set the table like it was Sunday every Thursday. Folks who taught me to shake a hand and mean it now think I drop my own boys like a bad habit. Not because a judge said so, because she did. I hit share on the voicemail and sent it to Uncle Ray. The blue bar crawls. The rain ticks on the canopy roof. My phone buzzes a minute later. Ray. Paper at all. 2 words. A road sign you can see through fog. I pull up the Title YD portal I bookmarked and take screenshots of the confirmation page. Each one has a state seal and a transaction ID that maps to the bank PDF. I frame the dates so the month and the processed stamp sit in the same shot. Click, click, click. I drop them into a folder on the desktop named Receipts. The folder icon looks like every paper folder I've carried into every office that wanted proof I wasn't guessing. Next, the parent portal for visitation. The requests populate in a bleak little list. Submitted, denied, no response. I scroll. August, July, May. The timestamps line up like mile markers, and I can trace each denial to a day I spent parked on a curb outside a house where my name lived in the air, but not in the room. I screen cap each page and add it to receipts. The folder count ticks up. 12, 16, 21. I do not flinch. This is not about feeling. This is about weight. I back out to the messages. I copied the last 3 months of unanswered invitations and pasted them into a note with dates and times. I write nothing extra, just the bones. 10:03, 4:12 p.m. I'm at the field if you want to warm up. Read House 0917, 7:29 a.m. Good luck on the math quiz. Raid 8:28, 5:55 p.m. Photo of new cleats. Read, the note grows into a clean column. Facts stand straighter than I do. The canopy lights buzz. A man in a rain jacket pumps gas across from me and hums along with a radio I can't hear. In my truck, the only sound is the laptop fan and the soft thud of rain. I airdrop the folder to my phone and watch the progress ring close. The ring is a small moon that fills and then turns whole. I close the laptop, tuck it behind the seat, and pick up the phone. Receipts sit on the home screen like a small locked door. I know where the key is. It is the same key I'll use later. A thumb on a rectangle. One press. The lie stuck because it was delivered to my family with tears and at the right time. I'll unstick it with timestamps. I slide the phone face down again and pull onto the feeder road. The wipers find their rhythm. The truck finds its lane. The plan finds its shape. The copy shop keeps late hours for people with deadlines and people with proof. Fluorescent lights hum above me like a distant hive. The floor is clean in that mopped at midnight way. A teenager in a hoodie leans on the counter and scrolls. Bored in the honest way only a night shift can make you. I nod, set my bag down, and feed a thumb drive into the printer like a coin into a machine that pays out in paper. The screen blinks awake. Child support PDFs. Bank ACH confirms. Visitation denials. I tap print all and listen. The machine warms, whirs, and then begins to spit pages in a steady rhythm. The first sheet lands with a soft slap, then another, then a stack. The printer tray fills like a sink under a slow faucet. Each page has a date. Each date corresponds to a morning when I woke up before sunrise and sent money on time. The state seal sits in the corner like a stamp that never learned how to lie. I gather the March packet. The paper is warm at the edges. It has that powdery smell that fresh toner makes. I flip to the highlighted line. Processed 6:03 a.m. I tucked it to the left. February, January. The pages form a small book of months that I never returned. I don't need them back. I need them seen. Behind me, the rain wears the front windows like a drumhead. Streaks crawl down the glass in parallel lines. The automatic door opens for a man with a padded envelope. Cold air slips past my ankles, and then the door seals again. The shop returns to its hum and rhythm. Hum, slap, hum, slap. I could stay in this sound for an hour and not feel it pass. On the second printer, The parent portal screenshots roll out. The words are plain and small. Submitted. Denied. No response. I sort them by month and clip them together with a black binder clip that bites just enough to leave a mark. I keep the edges straight. Crooked proof gives folks a reason to squint. I want no squinting. I want to read. The teenager slides me a box of manila folders and a Sharpie. I bought two. I write receipts in block letters, the way my shop teacher drilled into us. Slow, firm, no flourish. I write visitation logs on the second line and underline it once. I slide the stacks inside and press the metal prongs down. The sound they make is slight and final. I breathe once through my nose and feel my shoulders drop half an inch. Keys jingle against the counter when I reach for my wallet. 2 house keys, a truck key, a tiny worn-out grocery tag bent like a question mark. The teenager punches the total into the register and hands me a crinkling bag. He does not ask what I'm printing. I am grateful for his boredom. Bored people don't add their own story to yours. I carry everything to a side table and square the corners again. I slip a single page from each stack into a thin plastic sleeve. The sleeves glare under the lights. The glare makes the ink look sharper. I put those up front like cover art. I place the rest behind them in order. March to January on one side, denials in a neat ladder on the other. I added a blue pen to the folder pocket. I added a sticky notepad in case someone needs the luxury of a label. I zip the bag and feel the weight shift into a good place. Not heavy, solid. Outside, the rain taps twice fast and then once slow, like it is practicing a message. The door opens, and the night air brings in the smell of wet asphalt and cold chili from somewhere down the strip. I check the time. This hour belongs to errands nobody brag about. It suits me. I stop at the window before I leave. The glass is cold. Water snakes down and makes the parking lot lights look like bright fish under a shallow river. My reflection stands next to the stackers, toner cartridges, and clearance bins. I look like a man who came for paper and found a spine. Not a new one. Just the one I set down to carry other things. I pick it up. If they believed her words, they'd believe my paper. It isn't a prayer. It isn't a threat. It is a simple math problem that can be shown on a kitchen table. I push through the door, and the rain greets my face in clean pinpricks. The bag rides high on my shoulder. The keys chatter once and settle. I unlock the truck. The cabin smells like coffee and damp wool, and the cedar still living in the weave of my hoodie. I set the folders on the passenger seat and buckle them in and out of habit. I check the recorder in my pocket. It is a small rectangle with a red dot that means yes. The wipers clear the windshield in 2 long arcs. The dash lights up. I ease out of the lot and back onto the feeder. The copy shop glow shrinks in the mirror until it is just another square of light in a long string of squares. The rain keeps time. My turn signals click. The folders don't slide when I take the first curve. They sit still like 2 polite witnesses waiting for their names. Uncle Ray's garage breathes like a big animal. Warm air from a kerosene heater, the clink of a socket rolling under a shelf, the tick-tick of a cooling manifold. Rain beads on the open bay door and strings down in silver threads. He's under the hood of his F-150, forearms shiny with oil, a shop rag looped through his belt like a holster. When I pull in behind him, he doesn't look up first. He listens first. That's how he's built. I kill the engine, and the truck coughs once, then settles. The smell here is old rubber, diesel ghost, cedar, and black coffee burned an hour past decent. I set my bag on the workbench. The folders make a flat, sturdy sound on scarred wood. My hand stays on them a second, heat meeting heat. Ray wipes his palms, steps out from the hood, and stands there with his head tipped the way he does when he wants the whole thing, not the headline. I start from the beginning I can stand. The group chat with my name floating at the top like a label on an empty jar. The deposits at 6:03 a.m., month after month, are the kind of discipline that doesn't get applause. The denials that piled up like scrap metal behind a fence. Neat from a distance, dangerous when you get close. The voicemail, 16 seconds that laid out her calendar like she ran the courthouse. He doesn't interrupt, not once. He turns the rag in his hands and watches me the way he watched rookies call him plates back when his badge still rode his chest. My voice gets tight on the part about Mama believing it, and I feel stupid for letting that part shake me more than the money. He watches that land and doesn't rescue me from it. He nods toward the bag. You brought it? I open the receipts and visitation logs, then spread out the first page of each. He doesn't skim. He reads, date, amount, cleared. He taps a finger by the state seal like a stamp he remembers from 100 traffic stops and custody calls that went sideways in front yards. Then the portal screenshots, submitted, denied, no response, laddered by month. He tilts one page to kill glare from the shop light and gives a low, that means both good and to keep going. I fish my phone out and cue the voicemail. I don't play it. I don't need to. Not for him. I hold the screen. He studies the timestamp. The little waveform resembles a fence line with a breach in the middle. He takes a breath through his nose. All right. That's the whole verdict. He wipes his hands clean, walks to the red metal toolbox, slides open the third drawer from the top, and comes back with a small black rectangle. It's scuffed at the corners. The kind of scuff that says it was dropped on church carpet and the floor of a patrol car. The record button is nicked white. He sets it on the bench between us. Keep it clean, he says. 3 words. The rules of the house and the street. No scenes. He taps the recorder with a knuckle. Let her words do it. The kerosene heater coughs and steadies. Somewhere outside, water runs through the gutter with a soft rush. I can feel my jaw unclench a fraction, like a bolt finally catching the right thread. I think of Thanksgiving. Steam, noise, a room that knows me and doesn't. I think of the phone on the table, the air going thin right before a storm breaks without thunder. Ray picks up a roll of blue tape and tears a 2-inch strip with his teeth. He slaps it on the back of the recorder and writes my name with a marker that smells like childhood posters. Then he underlines it once. The line is not decoration, it's contact. He slides the recorder toward me. I don't grab it. I set my palm on top of it. Just as you would place your hand on a Bible you already believe in. Heat passes through plastic. This is not a gadget. It's a hinge. I can feel the door swing in my head, one side of the day closing, the other opening onto a kitchen where I won't have to lift my voice. Ray, I say, just to put his name in the room with the weight it's carried for me since I could see over a dashboard. He shakes his head. You already did the hard part. You kept score. He nods at the folders. Now you let the room keep it. I pocket the recorder. It fits like it's been there all week. The bag zips. The folders press together with that papery sigh. I trust more than speeches. He reaches into a coffee can full of spare keys and drops 2 onto the bench. Old Schlage blanks he's filed smooth at the edge. For when it's time, he says. Not a promise. A forecast. We stand a moment in the small weather of the shop. The heater breathing, the rain fretting at the eaves, the clock over the door bumping its second hand forward like a shoulder through a crowd. Ray claps my arm once, a careful hit that says go on. I shoulder the bag. The recorder sits against my ribs, warm and quiet. At the threshold, I look back at him. He's already under the hood again, wrench on a stubborn bolt, patient as sunrise. He didn't hand me advice. He gave me proof. Thanksgiving morning wears the street like a low cloud. Lawns shine with last night's rain, and the flags on the porches hang heavy, stripes stuck together, stars damp and quiet. I ease the truck against the curb 2 houses down, a habit from the old days when I'd time my exits to keep the boys from watching me back the whole way out. I kill the engine. The heater ticks softly in the dash. The bag rides shotgun with both folders tucked tight, and the recorder warms the space between my ribs and my shirt like a small coal that won't go out. I sit for one breath with my hands on the wheel, not to stall, to set the needle straight. The house is 2 shades of tan, same as always. My uncle painted the trim the year my grandmother's knees finally made her swap her ladder for a chair. The front window glows the color of cornbread on the rack, and I can almost hear the spoon scraping the bowl from here. I check my phone. Battery full. Files in place. A text from the school district newsletter I didn't unsubscribe from because quitting is not my sport. I put the phone in my inner pocket, pick up the bag, and open the door. Cold air carries gravy, sage, and the faint bite of onions my mother swears don't belong in dressing, but adds when no one's looking. Gravel pops under my boots. My keys give a short jingle. Truck, house, the one that used to fit here. That one sits on the same ring, dull and harmless as a tooth a kid keeps in a drawer. I thumb it, then let it go. The porch steps hold the memory of smaller feet hopping two at a time. I take them slow. At the top step, I pause to look at the old horseshoe nailed beside the frame. Open end up, the way my grandfather insisted. No sense in letting luck run out onto the porch. Someone's added a fall wreath, fake leaves, a burlap bough, two tiny pumpkins that will still look new at Easter. I nod to the horseshoe like you nod to a man who watched you grow and didn't make a fuss about it. Then I reach up and lay two fingers on the doorframe. The wood is smooth in the places the paint has learned to forgive hands. There's the nick at hip height where a pan hit last winter. I feel for the higher notch, there, where I mismeasured for a curtain rod, and Mama said, "Leave it. I'll tell folks it was a warning shot." The house carries our small mistakes like freckles. I press my fingers there and count to 3. This is not a prayer. It's a promise. Not my voice, not today. Truth first, volume never. I knock once because I'm a guest in places where I was born. The door opens before my knuckles land twice. My cousin Nikki sweeps me in with a smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "You made it," she says, but her voice has the careful flatness of someone stepping around wet paint. I step onto the mat and the house breathes around me. The oven's low exhale, the television from the den tossing the word cowboys back and forth like a hot potato. The clatter of forks on plates as folks taste test what isn't ready. Heat rolls down the hallway like a welcome that forgot my name. The smell of cornbread is right. The cast iron note, the butter, the memory of Sunday after church. And it doesn't make me soft, it makes me steady. I shift the bag to my left shoulder and set the receipts folder under my arm so it's in the crook of the elbow where a baby used to rest. My hand is empty. That matters. "Hey," I say low to the room, to the wall, to the years. Not loud enough to claim anything. Loud enough to answer the question of whether I can still speak in here without asking permission. My boys' faces appear at the end of the hallway like a photo that hasn't fully loaded. First one, then the other, stacked in the doorway, shoulders touching the jamb, hair a little longer than school policy likes. The older one lifts his chin a quarter inch, the way I do when I want to say, "I see you," without making a scene. The younger one's mouth starts to shape a word. "Dad," then hangs there, unsure if the room will allow it. I give them what I can provide from here. A slight nod, a smile I learned from Little League. Chin tucked, eyes soft, the smile that means I'm here. Play your game. Behind them, the hallway nightlight glows orange. Kayla's voice floats from the kitchen, bright and thin. My mother steps into the frame beside the dining room arch, dish towel in hand, folding it into a rectangle so clean it could be evidence. Her face is calm like a lake in a picture, flat because you can't see the wind. She looks at my shoulder first, at the bag, at the folder tab peeking, then up at me. The pause is a full second, maybe 2. Then she nods once. The same nod she gave me the first time I climbed into the cab of my first real job and drove away at dawn. Not blessing, not a send-off. "See if you can do what you said." "Plates are in the hutch," she says, and turns toward the kitchen like the sentence didn't pull a nerve across both of us. I breathe out the breath I've been holding since the curb. The house is tight with people, but there's room for the folder under my arm. There will be room for the phone on the table. There will be a lane to the truth if I walk it without knocking anybody over. I move past the hall photos, Little League uniforms, Easter suits, prom corsages pressed under glass. I keep my eyes on the frames, but not the faces. Memory is a fine fuel and a bad driver. The floor creaks at the spot where the joist has complained since '96. My boot hits it, and it sings the same old note. I cross into the dining room, touch the back of a chair, and feel the shallow, carved groove my grandfather made with his pocket knife when the Cowboys lost by a field goal, and he pretended he didn't care. Nikki passes with a casserole and shoulders the swinging kitchen door open with her hip. Voices bloom. Laughter. A joke about the turkey. Kayla's sugar-slow drawl tracing a story for the aunt who only visits on holidays and always picks the loudest person to believe. I let the door swing shut before I go in. I set the bag down by the china cabinet and slide the folder onto the console table, front and center, like a clean tool laid on a bench before you start the fix. I haven't opened it yet. Tools announce themselves just by being where they belong. I square the folder with the table's edge. The blue pen is in the pocket. The plastic sleeves catch the light and return it. I rest my palm on the cover for one beat, then leave it alone. I pull in a breath that smells like sage and scorched sugar, and a little like the hairspray my aunt has used since the 80s. The house has not changed. I have. My feet don't feel like visitors inside my own steps. I push through the kitchen door with 2 fingers. The heat hits my face. Kayla's back is to me, shoulders set, a napkin tucked under her wrist as if to mop tears that haven't arrived. She's telling Nikki's mother how hard it's been. She doesn't see me yet. Mama does. She slides a tray toward me without looking down, and the tray's handles are warm metal that remembers my grip. I take it, set it where she points. I follow directions like a man who knows the difference between compliance and peace. Uncle Ray stands by the window where the condensation has written its own map of the day, lines trailing to the sill. He doesn't tip his head or wink. He exists like a weight added to the right side of a scale. That's plenty. Need anything moved? I ask my mother. The words are small and valuable. She shakes her head once. Her mouth tightens, then loosens. You can get the ice, she says, like it's any year. Like it's the year before the story started. The year when my name didn't scrape the paint when it passed through a room. I take the signal. I go to the freezer. Ice rakes the plastic bin with a sound like gravel. I pour it into the bowl. My hands are steady. The bowl's cold presses my thumbs and tells my heart to match its pace. On my way back, I touch the doorframe again, this time the inside edge, the line you cross when you go from hallway to heat. The wood remembers my fingers. I picture the horseshoe outside, its mouth up, holding on to what needs to be kept. I picture the old, useless key on my ring, dull metal without a job. Some doors don't need new keys, they need new rules. I set the ice on the counter and step back to the doorway so I can see the length of the table, the hallway and the console where the folder sits ready. I don't check my pocket for the phone. I know where it is. I know what it holds. I let my shoulders drop the last inch they've been carrying for 2 years. Some homes don't feel like home until you walk back in on your own terms. I'm here. My terms fit in a pocket and under a folder tab. The rest fits inside my chest where it belongs. The dining room is a work site before the bell, hands moving, plates migrating, chairs skidding a half inch, then stopping like they remembered their mark. I take the stack of salad plates and count them out loud only in my head. 10 for the big table, 4 for the card table. The cousins pretend they don't mind. The tablecloth has a coffee ring from some year we laughed too hard to notice. I lay a napkin over it, a small mercy for a past that can stay where it is. The receipts folder rests on the console like a tool I've set within reach. I keep my body between it and the room, not to hide it, to own it. The plastic sleeves gleam each time the ceiling fan shoves light across the surface. I don't touch it yet. I let it be evident to me and invisible to everyone who isn't looking for the truth. On the buffet, the big oval serving tray sits empty and polished, a steel pond with fingerprints at the rim. I pull one payment packet from the folder, march on top, the others nested behind like shingles, slide the stack under the tray, and lower the metal back down until it kisses wood. The tray presses the paper flat, proof underweight. If anyone lifts that shine later, it will have dates stuck to it. Next, the parent portal screenshots, submitted, denied, no response, were aligned in a neat column. I feed that column into the gap behind the trivet Mama keeps for the cast iron. I leave the top page proud by a fingernail, just enough to catch. Evidence doesn't need drama, it needs placement. The pocket recorder sits against my ribs, warm now, a little rectangle that learned my heartbeat in the truck and is matching it out of courtesy. I feel for the ridged edge without looking. Still there. Red dot is still waiting. I picture the moment it will matter, and then I put the picture away. Not yet. Not until her mouth draws the bow and looses the arrow she's been saving. I carry water glasses to the kids' table. The boys' chairs shoulder each other at the corner, one with a paint chip on the rung from the summer we dragged it onto the porch for science experiments. A framed photo watches from the sideboard, both of them in uniforms too big, hats crooked, my hand visible at the edge of the frame, keeping one shoulder square. Last Christmas sits beside it, matching pajamas, a tree that leaned like it wanted to nap, wrapping paper snow. I hold the edge of the frame with a thumb and don't lift it. Ghosts don't need help. The hallway wall is a timeline in wood and glass. Third grade award for citizenship with a crooked star sticker. A certificate for reading minutes. My name on the donor list at the bottom in tiny print. Proof of a Saturday I skipped sleep to help with a book fair I wasn't allowed to attend. A team photo with sunburns and squinted eyes. I touch the corner of that one and feel dust give way. I blow it once. Soft. The dust swirls like a thought leaving. She used stories. I use silence. In the kitchen, a laugh lands and the room answers. I listen for my name and hear the echo of it in the spaces where it used to fit. I bring the silverware over and lay it clean. Forks to the left, knives turned in just so, spoons nested. The acts are small and measurable. That's the point. I arrange the salt and pepper in line with the vase. I straighten the runner. I take the place at the head out of habit, but then I set it one seat down instead. A small reposition. A reminder to myself that I don't need the top of the table to hold the table. I slide a single sheet, title Y voor deconfirmation with the state seal, fat and official, under my mother's charger. Not for surprise, for inevitability. It will be there when the room needs it. I tuck another confirmation beneath the spot I know Kayla claims, the way she always does, left of center, where the light is best. I let the page peek a corner, not enough to show what it is, enough to make her fix it, sufficient to put paper under her hand before she tells the next version of me. Cousin Brent stomps through with a beer and a grin and a comment that expects me to bite. I don't. I step aside and let the grin pass like a truck you don't want gravel from. My uncle coughs in the den. The TV barks a score. I keep my pace. Slow, practical, repeatable. Knife, fork, napkin fold, glass. At the console, I take a blue sticky note and write 2 words in block letters. Read me. I attach it to the top sleeve inside the folder, so only the first person to open it will see it. Not a dare, a doorbell. I set a pen across the spine as if someone had just put it down to answer the oven timer. The door frame catches my hand again as I cross back to the hallway. 2 fingers to wood. A metronome for self-control. Breathe in on the grain, out on the paint. The rains ease to a whisper. The windows fog at the corners, tracing half moons that look like smudged thumbprints. In the mist, I can see the print of the morning I left this house without my boys and promised myself I'd come back with my record, not my temper. From my pocket, the phone thumps once, a calendar reminder I don't need. I kill the screen without looking. The recorder is the only red light I'll honor today. I shift my weight, and the floor answers in the spot that always does. A minor complaint I've heard since I learned to walk. I step past it, and the plank quiets, like the house remembers we are trying something different. I take the serving tray in both hands and move it to the center of the table. Metal shushes across cloth. Paper sleeps underneath, face up, dates breathing ink into cotton. I set a bowl on top, sweet potatoes crowned with toasted marshmallow like a snowbank catching fire. Nobody will move that unless it's time to eat. When they do, the tray will lift and the room will have to be looked at. I make one more lap, glasses straight, folded towels in line. The folder is in attention. I smooth the tablecloth from the center out, like erasing a wrinkle from a shirt you care about. My hand stops shaking. My shoulders find a level. The air in the doorway feels less like a test and more like a checkpoint. I meet my boy's eyes in the hall again. The older one gives me the slightest nod, a math problem solved without showing the work. The younger one presses his lips together to hide a smile that he doesn't know if it's allowed. I give them a look that says, "We're fine, not we will be. We are." In the kitchen, Kayla's voice rises a half step, the pitch she uses when she wants the room warmed before the story walks in. I rest my palm flat on the table once, an oath without words. The phone weighs 2.14 pounds. The paperwork is set like anchors in soft ground. The recorder is ready to make silence carry weight. I step back to the doorway and take my place where sightlines meet. Not center stage. Sightline. The place a man stands when he knows the next move is small and exact. No speeches, no noise. The table will do the talking. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to show. On the console, I open receipts like a field kit. Pages fan out with the sound of cards shuffling, clean even true. I built 3 stacks, left to right, the way a tech lays parts on a bench. Stack A, title IVD confirmations, state seal top right, transaction ID bottom. Processed 6:03 a.m., highlighted once. Not a circus stripe, just a line a tired eye can follow. March on top, followed by February and then January. I penciled tiny hash marks at the lower corner, 1, 2, 3, so I can put them back in order by touch if someone scrambles them. Each page gets a small blue tab with the month, sticky flag pointing east like a wind vane. I square the edges until the stack stands on its own. Stack B, custody requests and denials. Portal screenshots with the header visible. Submitted, denied, no response. I staple each month's batch in the upper left, then punch a single hole at the top so the metal prong in the folder can pin them when it's showtime. On every page, I circle the timestamp with a thin pen. No fat marker, no drama, just a clean loop around 8:17, 4:18 p.m. and its twins. At the bottom of the stack, I slide one notarized affidavit from last month, the notary stamp crisp as a boot heel, affirming attempts made and blocked. Paper doesn't need feelings, it needs shape. Stack C, the letter to my mother, cream envelope, law office return address. Inside, 1 page in plain language about restoring the previous bequest until the court sort is done. A short addendum template enclosed. No threats, no heat, just a lane back to center. I tuck a self-addressed stamped envelope behind it and a sticky note that says, "If you want this, sign, date, bring me the stamp." The pen rests across the flap like a bridge. I've built a 1-page index so you don't have to take my tour. 1. Child support confirmations, Yanmar 2024, tabs A1, A3. 2. Visitation requests, sheer denials, Mayog 2024, tabs B5, B8. 3. Affidavit of attempts, 09-22, 2024, BAF. 4. Letter A, will addendum, draft, Posassi, C1. I print 2 copies of the index. One slips under the plastic sleeve at the front. One goes face up beneath the serving tray with the payment stack. So when the tray lifts, the list greets the room before I do. I cross-check stack A to stack B, the March 1 payment at 6:03 a.m. pairs with the March 3 denial at 4:18 p.m. I draw a faint pencil line between the dates on the index, A3, B3. That arrow is my whole argument, and it doesn't need my voice. The plastic sleeves get wiped with the dish towel corner, so glare doesn't steal a word when someone leans in. I slide stack A under the oval tray's lip, spine toward me, tabs peeking like little flags. Stack B tucks into the runner fold near Mama's seat. Top page proud enough to lift with 2 fingers. Stack C a place where her hand always lands when she sits. The right side of her charger, envelope angled so her name faces her, not the room. The recorder sits warm against my ribs, a quiet metronome. I pull it out long enough to click the wheel and check the counter. EU1. EU. Good. I set it beside the console for a breath, then slide it back into my pocket. Its job is simple. Hold silence until it needs to make sound. I open the bag again and pull a thin legal pad. On the top sheet, I write 3 headers in block letters spaced down the page. Paid, requested, denied under each. 1 line with today's date, nothing filled in yet. Not for drama, for notes if someone asks a straight question. I clip the pad to the inside cover so the first person to peek gets a map and a pencil. A last pass. Blue tabs align like stitches. Staples tight. Index where eyes land first. Envelope ready, stamp waiting. Phone in pocket with 2 minutes 14 at the top of the list. File name trimmed to one word I can find without looking. Tuesday. I set the folder shut and press the prongs down. They click. The click is a latch in my chest. From the kitchen, the timer dings. Chairs scuff. A laugh swells. The house tips toward the hour where stories get told and believed because the pie smells right. I slide receipts to the edge of the console, 1 inch forward, visible without being offered. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to show. I place my hand flat on the cover, count to 2, and let go. The proof is in position. The room can come to it when the performance starts. My part now is smaller than breath. Stay still, wait for the line I know by heart, and give the floor to her own voice. Kayla aims herself at the open space by the stove, like a singer stepping to a mark. She lifts the napkin to her cheek and turns so the light kisses the water in her eyes. He left us with nothing, she says, and the room folds toward her. Chairs tilt, elbows lean, faces soften the way they do when a story arrives wearing bruises you can't see. I don't answer. I don't blink long. I move 3 steps, smooth and square, the way you set a heavy box on a shelf you measured twice. The phone comes out of my pocket. It hits the table with a slight, honest sound. A butter knife stops midair. The Cowboys game murmurs through a wall, then hushes under a commercial. The oven ticks once in the gap. I wake the screen, find Tuesday without looking. 2 minutes and 14 seconds is a wait the thumb knows. Click. The speaker breathes. A room tone from another afternoon fills this one. Air quiet, a TV far away, the rustle of cloth. Then her voice arrives without a costume. No napkin, no audience. Flat and sure, the way people talk when they're tightening screws. I kept them from you because... A gasp from the doorway. Someone says what? So soft, the word is just a mouth shape. Kayla's face stays still for 1 beat too long. Eyes on the phone, then up, then back. Like a driver seeing a deer after the bumper has already passed. The file runs. Her voice keeps building its own gallows, plank by plank. You don't get to see them till you understand what you did to me. If I say the day doesn't work, it doesn't. You can send the money. That doesn't buy you time. No theatrics, just lines laid in concrete. The sound lands and spreads like rain through dust, turning powder to mud you can't step around without tracking. I don't look at her. I open the receipts folder. The prongs lift with a metallic sigh. Pages brighten under the light like fresh tiles. I fan stack A with a thumb, title Ivor D confirmations, and lay 3 months down the line of the table. Processed 6:03 a.m., highlighted once on each. ACHTXOAG. State seal like a stamp that doesn't know how to cry. The recording ticks on. I slide stack B out, visitation, submitted, denied, no response, and set March beside March, February beside February. Hash marks in the corners align. Arrows on the index draw themselves for anyone with eyes. Paid, denied. I place the 1-page index face up where the tray will lift. I don't narrate. Paper doesn't need a guide. Kayla finds her breath. That's out of context. I raise a finger without looking, not to shush her, to make space for the rest of her own sentence to finish the work. The file obliges. I kept the boys because you needed to feel it. Maybe then you'll quit trying to look good for your mom. My mother's hand finds a chair back. She doesn't sit. She leans like a woman watching a storm come across a field she planted. Uncle Ray steps 1 pace forward from the window and sets his palm on the sill. The room takes his measure and quiets a notch. Cousin Brent clears his throat, stacking jokes he can't deliver now. He points at a page like a man who thinks volume can beat ink. We don't know what this even... Ray doesn't raise his voice. Y'all can read. The sentence lies across the table like a beam. Not loud, load-bearing. I lift the serving tray. Steel kisses cloth. The payment stack breathes underneath, index on top. March, February, January. I push them to the center where hands pass rolls and sweet tea. Proof belongs where people reach. That's the thing about recordings, I say finally. They don't argue back. The last 7 seconds of Tuesday run out with a soft hiss. The silence a recorder keeps as a tale, like a witness who waits to see if you'll add anything dumb. I don't. I lock the phone and leave it face up, black screen reflecting faces bent over paper. My mother picks up March. Her thumb pads the highlighted time. 6:03 a.m. Her mouth moves without sound, tracking the line to the date and the state seal. She sets it down and lifts the March denial. 4:18 p.m. Her jaw tightens, then releases. She takes February next, January. She doesn't rush. She reads like a woman who taught me to show my work. Kayla reaches across the table for the top sheet of Stack B as if she can fix the font with her fingertips. The page skates under her nails and stops under Ray's palm. He doesn't look at her. He keeps watching the room as if counting heads in a drill. His hand is just there, a slow gait. Brent tries again. Folks make mistakes. Maybe this is... Stack A, Uncle Ray says, eyes still on the field, is money. Stack B is accessible. A and B don't match. He nudges the index with one knuckle. That line goes the wrong way. Nikki's mother, who only visits on holidays and picks the loudest person to believe, leans in despite herself. She mouths the words processed and denied like they're new spices. Beside her, my aunt straightens the corner of a page because she can't help it. The room begins to sort itself by habit. People who read, people who argue, people who wait. My boys stand in the hallway, both of them inside the same doorway, their shoulders touching. The older one watches my hands, not my face. The younger one stares at the stack like he's trying to see the picture inside the numbers. I angle the top page their way. No flourish, so the highlight catches a thin band of light and throws it toward them. Kayla's voice thins. He's making it look... I tilt my head, small as a shrug. The phone is silent now, screen black. The words aren't on it anymore. They're in the room. I slide Stack C, the cream envelope, toward my mother's place. The return address sits in the corner like a polite knock. The self-addressed, stamped envelope peeks from behind, stamp ready to carry one sheet down a road it didn't get to take last spring. I don't touch it again. That choice has to belong to the hand that takes it. Mama doesn't reach for it yet. She looks at Kayla the way a nurse looks at a chart and then at the patient, deciding whether to trust the pulse or the numbers. Her eyes drop to the March arrow again. A3, B3. I can see the math land. It takes up space between us, clean and heavy. Kayla tries to pivot to feeling. You know how hard it's been? He. Her mouth searches for a noun that isn't here. She finds my mother's face and stops. I don't move. I don't rescue. I don't help her build a softer edge to fall on. I hold the table's edge with one hand, thumb on the groove my grandfather carved on a stormy football night, and let the room do the job I brought it. Brent huffs. Man, you could have just... I did, I say, and that's the whole speech. 3 letters that point to 30 months of alarms and denials, and a file named after a day of the week. Somewhere, the oven timer dings and nobody reaches. Steam fogs the lower pane of the window. A trickle of water runs down and beads at the sill by Ray's hand. He doesn't wipe it. My mother lifts the cream envelope, not high, just enough to break it free of the table's skin. She turns it so her name faces her and not the room. The sound the paper makes is the smallest, yes, I've heard in years. Kayla opens her mouth and closes it. Her face folds in on itself, the way a map does when the trip is over and you see how few roads you actually took. My boys take a half step into the dining room, together, like teammates onto a field where the ball finally sits still. Silence moves through the house, room to room, like a front. The TV in the den keeps talking to no one. The heater clicks. The ice in the bowl settles with a glassy sigh. I slide the folder an inch closer to the center. Not to threaten, to invite. Y'all can read, Ray says again. Softer, like a benediction this time. And the room does. Rain steps down from a drum to a metronome. The windows stop their shiver and hold a soft blur, like someone wiped the edge of the day with a damp cloth. The paper lies flat on the table, corners squared by hands that finally chose to look. The room breathes again. My mother's fingers find mine. They're cool from the iced tea and warm from the oven. She squeezes once, hard enough to speak without words. The wet at the corner of her eye isn't for show. She sets the cream envelope against her plate like a promise she intends to keep. Eat before it gets cold, she says, the old sentence that means stay. Uncle Ray tips his chin toward the porch. I follow him through the doorway, past the console where the folder rests shut, past the doorframe I touched on the way in. I feel it again. Habit now, not defense. The screen door chirps its rusty note, and we step into the thin rain. The yard smells like cedar and wet earth. The old horseshoe catches a drop on its lower lip and holds it there. Mouth up, no spill. The street is quiet except for a delivery van grinding its brakes and a dog giving up on barking. Ray leans on the post like he has all afternoon. He doesn't look at me at first. He watches the rain decide what it wants next. When he does, he digs into the coffee can in his jacket pocket and drops a small weight into my palm. 2 keys on a plain ring, fresh cut, edges still a little sharp. The teeth catch the porch light and throw a thread of silver across my lifeline. For when the papers catch up, he says, no waiting on locksmiths. I roll the metal under my thumb. It's the same blank we used when we changed Mama's back door after a break on the next block. Schlegel shoulders, bow worn smooth in 1,000 other hands. These are new. These are mine. Not trophies, tools. Thank you, I say, because thank you is the only sentence that doesn't get sticky in times like this. He nods once, satisfied with the exchange. You did it right, he adds, which lands like a jacket over cold shoulders. My phone buzzes in my inner pocket. One pulse, the kind a lawyer's name carries. I don't look fast, I look steady. The banner reads, hearing moved up. Monday 9 a.m., Judge Hollister. No emojis, no extra lines. Just the road sign I've been driving toward. I breathe long enough to taste the metal in the air when rain rubs against a screen door. The coffee in my other hand went cold an hour ago. I drink it anyway. It does what coffee does, wakes what matters and lets the noise sit down. Behind us, the house shifts from performance to plates. Forks clink, chairs scoot, words find safer lanes. My boys hover at the threshold the way kids do when they want to be included without being announced. I tip the keys toward them, a quiet flash. The younger one's eyes jump to the ring. The older one's jaw sets in a way I recognize from mirrors. Monday, I say, not to them and not away from them, just into the space we share. Ray clasped my shoulder once. I'll be in the hall, he says, as if the courthouse is our church and pew assignments are settled. He steps back in, leaving me with the rain's small talk and the sound of my name finally fitting in the house again. I put the keys in my pocket and they click against the recorder. Tiny metal applause. The screen door swings, then catches. I watch the street for a breath longer. The drizzle thins until it's just air you can see if you squint. You don't raise your voice when you've already won. I turn back inside, past the horseshoe, past the frame nick, past the console where receipt sits like a shut toolbox after the fix. Mama set a plate for me. The boys slide into their chairs like it's always been this way. Kayla keeps her eyes on her napkin. Brent studies the tablecloth as if it holds a play he missed. The room holds. I sit. I pick up a fork. The first bite tastes like food again. If this story hit a nerve, do 2 things right now. 1. Subscribe for more true revenge stories told straight. No shouting, just proof. 2. Comment with a 1-line lesson you learned about setting boundaries. If you've got receipts of your own, say I did it right, and I'll pin a few that might help someone else tonight.